This week's Torah portion, Parshat Acharei Mot, contains within it a short comment from the Gur Aryeh, the Maharal, whom we are studying this year, that enlightens us a little bit to his perspective. And it can be found in, this is Leviticus chapter 18. We're going to look at verses 4 and 5. So here the Torah says as follows: Et mishpatai ta'asu, my laws you should fulfill, ve'et chukotai tishmaru lalechet behem, and my decrees you should observe to live by them. Ani Hashem Lokechem, for I am the Lord your God. Here there's a contrast between two types of commandments, mishpatim and chukim. Mishpatim are what we would call laws, which are typically rational. We can understand the meaning behind them, versus chukim, decrees, which might not make rational sense, but we fulfill them regardless. In the following verse, Ushmartem et chukotai ve'et mishpatai, and you should observe both my decrees and my laws. Asher yaseh otam hadam v'chai behem ani Hashem, which you should do, which a person should do and live by them, for I am God. So this might seem, these two lines might seem a little redundant, but Rashi gives a reason. He says, why does this second part of the phrase, the second verse, have to repeat the term, you should observe my decrees? Litein shmira ve'asiyah lechukim, v'shmira ve'asiyah lemishpatim. Lafi, he says, we want to make sure, the Torah wanted to make sure that the reader understands that for both these types of laws, the mishpatim and the chukim, the laws and the decrees, that there is an element of both shmira and an element of asiyah. Shmira typically, which we understand to mean observe or protect, and asiyah means to fulfill. And Rashi concludes, Lafi shelo natan ela asiyah lemishpatim v'shmira lechukim, because if you had looked at the prior verse, the word asiyah, to do or fulfill, was said regarding laws, mishpatim, and the word observe or protect, shmira, was said by chukim, by decrees. So that's why the verse repeats itself to say, ushmartem et chukotai ve'et mishpatai. So that you should know that asiyah, doing, and shmira, protecting, observing, applies to both categories. That would be the simple understanding of the verse. The Gur Aryeh, in his commentary, has a very brief comment which defines these terms differently. Says the Gur Aryeh, the Maharal of Prague, Shmira ve'asiyah perush. What does this mean? Shmira hu mishneh. Shmira, which means again to guard or to protect, he says that doesn't mean exactly that here. What it means is learning. Talmud Torah, study, Torah study. V'asiyah hu kimashma'o. Whereas doing, that's what it sounds like, meaning to do the mitzvah. So the Gur Aryeh goes a little bit against the Pashut Pshat, the simple understanding of the verse, and says, no, it's not that these two languages of Asiyah and Shmira mean to do, fulfill, to observe, to guard, that are sort of synonymous, but rather they mean distinct things. There's one aspect is doing the mitzvah, that's the Asiyah, as we understand it, and that can be mitzvahs which are positive commandments or negative commandments, the thou shalt and the thou shalt nots. But then there's also what is called shmira, to guard, protect, which the Gur Aryeh wants to define as the Torah study, which I think is fascinating and insightful, because that what he's saying is really, that is a deep and true way that we observe or guard these commandments, whether they're mishpatim, laws, or chukim, decrees, that we can fully make sure we're going to keep them is by studying them. And indeed, we know the history of the Jewish people in the last thousands of years has been, to a great degree, one of a people of study. Some have called the Jews the people of the book. And to the degree that the Jews have kept up their Torah study and their deep fluency in Talmud Torah, studying its laws, have enabled the Jews to live so robustly Torah lives that have been able to flourish in so many different locales through their twin fulfillments of Shmira and Acharei, Torah study and Torah observance as defined here by the Gur Aryeh. Always a pleasure learning with you. More next week.